guys doing? I hope you're fabulous. We have a interview that we're going to go ahead and let you listen to this week. There were a few sound issues, and I totally dropped the ball. And we have the last part of the interview, so it's kind of like you're going into the middle of a conversation, but it's a great conversation. We have a wonderful guest. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and check it out.
Starts a conversation and ask about your kids and your family and your travel, and you build this trust. The infamous trust we're building. These people can come in, and if the person is alone and has nobody there, then they can get swindled into investing. So never invest with anyone on the phone. Meet the person. There's plenty of well-educated, well-trained folks with large firms all over this country that unless you live in the middle of nowhere, you should be no more than 30 minutes from plenty of trained, educated, well-supervised advisors, meaning you don't need to go and work with them by just on the phone.
Yeah, that's how Jordan Belfort got started.
Yeah, cold calling, right? That's right.
That's funny. So, what does a good investor look like? So, where should people find a good investor?
Well, so to me, the investor is the individual who has the money. So I call it financial advisors. So I think, talking to friends and relatives, the same way you hire a lawyer, the same way you hire an accountant, talk to folks at, whether it's church or your work or, and wherever you are in retirement or your activities, get some names, but then, do the work we've been talking about. Go to broker check, research their firm, but, get references. And if you meet with somebody and they're in an office and they're not by themselves, you don't need to invest with somebody who works at a strip mall, right next to the taco place, right? They don't need to be on an ivory tower on the 95th floor in New York City either. They need to have an office and a location, and they need to be around other people. They have business cards and a legitimate address. Just a lot of things that you might think are obvious, but most of the cases we have are because one of those boxes weren't checked. They didn't do broker check, or they maybe weren't. And again, you do all this, unfortunately, there's still a chance that you can be a victim of investment fraud. Unfortunately, there is a legal process available. Hiring lawyers like me to go through the legal process and recover the money, but there has to be a legitimate firm, a financial institution on the other side of the case. In other words, you're not going to have to find a lawyer to take your case if, in fact, there's no collectible entity at the other end who, if faced with a judgment or is issued a judgment, can satisfy it.
Okay, so even if I was duped by a bad financial advisor, if I didn't do any due diligence on my behalf and it turns out this person isn't licensed and they aren't associated with a brokerage firm, there's really nothing that a lawyer could do for me?
Typically, that's true. Now, oftentimes, there might be criminal charges. The FBI, the Department of Justice comes in, the state regulators. So there's lawyers like me that work in the civil justice system. So our job is to pursue civil claims to recover money. But there's a whole other side of the coin is the criminal aspect of it. So if there's theft or deceit, particularly in a large scale, then that's when I call them the securities police. That's the FBI, the Department of Justice, your state securities regulators, the SEC. Those entities can come in and pursue folks criminally, but that usually ends up in jail time. Very rarely unfortunately, these entities government entities able to recover money. Now, sometimes they do, and there's receiverships, and there's a process for that. Typically, that takes years and years and years, and typically by the time the schemer is found, there's very little money. The Bernie Madoff story is something that I know a lot of people have heard of, and the regulators and the receivership was actually very successful in that case for going back and recovering a lot of money. But that is rarely the case. That is the exception and not the rule in my experience. In 25 years of doing this, I can't think of a time where anyone has recovered more than 10, 15, 20 cents on the dollar when there's been criminal cases when there's been no affiliated brokerage firm around.
Oh my gosh. with Bernie Madoff, that was our second episode, R.I.P. Bernie. But he wasn't associated with a major firm, yet they were able to recover a lot.
So I believe he owned his own investment advisory firm.
Right.
What they're able to do is they were able to track and go back and get money from a lot of folks because what had happened, he took a lot of money in, but he took a lot of money in and he paid a lot of money out. So they went back and were able to claw back billions of dollars. So, for example, I believe if you invested $100,000 and you got back $5 million, that's profit that you weren't entitled to. So the receiverships, and they did an unbelievable amount of work, for 10, 15 years, whatever it was, to claw back a lot of that money from folks who got the money inappropriately. So I believe a lot of the money was clawed back in appropriate profits.
Nice. That's good.
It's good, but the problem with the Bernie Madoff situation is people did recover most of their actual investment, but the problem was that he had been issuing statements for years and years that were fraudulent. So people might have invested $200,000, but their statements showed they had $3 million. So they were living as if they had $3 million, and really they had the $200,000 minus what they spent. So they might have got back $100,000, and that might have looked good. But the reality is they've been lied to for so long.
They thought they had something that they really didn't have.
Right.
Wow. What are the warning signs of possible fraudsters?
So there's a lot of red flags. Fake statements are a big issue now with technology and printers and computers. I would recommend that go online to the custodian and seek access to their statements directly. So the first rule is you should never write a check to your investment advisor personally. So, if your advisor is David Meyer with David Meyer Advisory Services, you never write a check to David Meyer. You always write it to the custodian. So, like the Merrill Lynch and the Wells Fargo, they custody their own money. So you would write your checks to Merrill Lynch, Wells Fargo. But a lot of these independent advisors, they trade or they work their funds through like Fidelity or Charles Schwab. So that's where you should send your check to. So you never send money to your individual advisor. It must always go through the custodian. So those are the folks that hold you. And that's important because, if you write your money to the individual, that's where it can get stolen. So you want to always be with the custodian of your money, access the statements online, or make sure you're getting them directly from the brokerage firm, the custodian, and not. You might get independent statements from you always want to compare those to the official statement from the custodian. Sometimes advisors send summaries to make it look pretty and pie charts, but those are generated independently oftentimes, so you want to compare that with the actual statements. And you also, red flags include if you're getting a lot of confirmations in the mail or via email, if there's a lot of activity. Most of us don't need to see a lot of activity. There doesn't need to be a lot of buying and selling in most of our portfolios. So you want to be careful that if that's definitely a red flag. If you're seeing major fluctuations in your portfolio, down or up, most of us, steady as the steady goes is the way we ought to be growing our money. And if you're seeing large fluctuations, that's an indication that there may be a problem and maybe you're subjecting yourself. You want to be very cautious if your advisor is promoting alternative investments, things like variable annuities, variable universal life, private placements, real estate investment trusts. Wall Street is just geniusly comes up with these complicated products that nobody can understand, that are unbelievably complex. Even those who sell them have no idea what they mean. But there are just tons and tons of investments, complex investments that don't need to be in any of our portfolios. Most of us will do just fine with a well-balance of equities and bonds, whether it's mutual funds or ETFs. Is what 95% of us need. But the reason why some of these alternative investments are sold, as you might expect, is because they pay. Advisors don't make a lot of money selling ETFs and mutual funds. They make a lot of money, like multiples of commissions, selling variable annuities, variable universal life, private placements, real estate trusts, things that none of us need, none of us understand, but can pay huge commissions. So I'd always stay away from anything like that.
So if I see a huge jump in my portfolio and then a huge loss and then a huge jump again, I should get suspicious.
Any volatility. I mean, look, if the market is going down 10%, your portfolio is down 10%, everything else being equal, that's fine. But if you're retired and you're 80 years old and you've got $500,000 name and your portfolio goes down 30%, that's a problem.
Okay.
Because, of course, you don't have the time to make it up. The portfolio of an 80-year-old retiree looks different than a 30-year-old who's got, 30 or 40 years working in front of him.
Okay.
So let's say I am a victim. What should a person do, a reader or listener do to recover losses?
So they ought to research an investment fraud lawyer the same way that I'm telling folks to research an advisor. Talk to family, friends, go online, look for lawyers that do this kind of work. There's not a lot of lawyers so there's not that many of us around the country. So it's hard to, go down to your local Main Street. Or a lot less investment fraud lawyers and personal injury lawyers. And we work on a nationwide basis. So although we have in 4 or 5 cities throughout the country, we do work nationwide. And the reason why is these cases don't get filed in court. So, if you get in that car accident I told you about, you hire a personal injury lawyer locally and you go to the local courthouse and you file a lawsuit. But those of us that have accounts with brokerage firms and investment advisors, when we sign up, in the back of page 5 in the customer account agreement, there's what's called a mandatory arbitration provision. And for all of us who open up accounts at brokerage firms, in order to do that, in order to open up accounts, we have to agree to give up our right to go to court. And we agree that any dispute we ever have with this brokerage firm or financial advisor must go through mandatory arbitration. And that arbitration is handled on a nationwide basis, and that's what I do. We're securities arbitration lawyers.
Nice.
So you can look that up. And another problem with that, though, is anyone can put a website up that says, hey, we're investment fraud lawyers, and the website looks fancy. So you got to peel back the homepage and look for real experience. Look for the resources. Going up against Wall Street takes an army. I learned that when I was 28 years old, 25 years ago. So you need a law firm that's got, a lot of lawyers, staff, support, resources. We handle these cases on a contingency fee and we advance expenses in a lot of cases. So, your lawyer has to be able in the position to up $20, $50, $100,000 for your case and everyone else's case. And if they don't have sufficient resources to do that, you may not get the best representation. And also look for lawyers that have leadership roles in organizations and bar associations. There's a bar association of lawyers that do what I do called PIABA. It's the Public Investors Advocate Bar Association. It's an international bar association of lawyers who represent individuals who have claims against the brokerage firms. I've been a member for 20 years. I'm currently the president of PIABA, and that's a great place to go for folks to do the research because we're the lawyers that do this every day.
And you've also been named like the best lawyer of the year twice, right?
Yeah, so I have been named the best lawyer of the year for 2021 and some prior years, but that's by location and by practice area. So yeah, there's more than one best lawyer in the world. But it's that's one of several criteria. There's a lot of lawyer ranking, AVO and AV ratings. There's and a lot of us have those, and I'm grateful to have that recognition. But that's just one part. So it's that recognition. It's a winning record. It's the experience. It's access to the experts. It's the reputation in this community. It's the leadership roles in bar associations. I spend a lot of time lobbying the Securities Exchange Commission. I spend a lot of my time going to D.C. and Capitol Hill. So you got to find lawyers that are invested in this and that are working, in my opinion, to have an impact beyond the 4 corners of our office. It's one thing just to sit here and get calls and help clients that have already suffered losses, and it's great work. It's very rewarding. But by writing this book and serving in these roles, in these volunteer roles, I'd like to do my part to stop this fraud before it happens. So that's why we lobby with the SEC. We're involved with our state regulators. Write a book to try to reduce this. So these are all the things that I believe you should look for before hiring a lawyer in this very, very niche area.
Definitely. So the Investor Protector, is it available now? And if it is, where can we find it?
Yeah, so June 8th, available on Amazon. It's called The Investor Protector, Stories of Triumph Over Financial Advisors Who Lie, Cheat, and Steal. It's available on Amazon.
Wonderful. Actually, this episode is dropping on June 8th. So today, you can actually go to Amazon, mosey on over. Maybe we'll include a link, and then you could read, buy, purchase, and support the Investor Protector.
That'd be great. In fact, if this comes out on June 8th, that week is launch week, and the electronic version on Amazon is 99 cents discounted for that 1 week for launch. So
what? Yes, we love 99-cent things. Definitely.
Yes, definitely.
Before we let you go, is there a memorable case you want to share with us?
So, in addition to the Prudential case, I did have a case from a couple years ago. It's in the book. In fact, I think I start the book with it, about a woman I call Dorothy. That's not her real name. But she and her husband had amassed a fortune of $30 million through just the classic American dream. He was an engineer. He invented a product that was in high demand. He built the business, sold it at $30 million. They were very conservative people. No one knew they had any money at all. He passed away, and then their daughter actually passed away early, so she was by herself, a widow with no children. She had $30 million, and a broker found out about it, and weaseled his way in there and literally took $30 million from her. And I came in, was brought into the case, and we recovered $31 million. And I actually have a copy of that check in my book. I've redacted appropriately for confidentiality purposes, and that check reminds me of the important work we do and how fulfilling it is. And on her 102nd birthday, she told her nephew, who was my client contact primarily, to make sure he called and thanked me again for work we did to protect her legacy.
Wow. Bully for her and bully for you. That's awesome.
Yeah,
wow.
It was good stuff.
I think you're probably in her will, so look out for that.
Well, I don't want that. I'm just glad that I was able to do the job I was hired to do.
That's amazing. That's amazing. No, you, like Brandy said, you're definitely doing the Lord's work. And like you said, with this particular, field of law, it's very niche. So I don't know. We're really glad that we're talking with you, and then listeners get to hear that there is someone that's out there that it can fight for people that have been financially screwed pretty much by their broker. This is crazy. So I'm really excited about this book. So this week it is available. If you get it this exact week of June 8th, 99 cents on Amazon for the digital version, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Great.
And if people want to learn a little bit more about you, David, where could they
Our website is investorclaims.com. We have a lot of videos, a lot of educational videos about investing and things to look out for, further steps they can take to protect themselves, cases that we've handled. You can learn more than you ever want to know about me and the great lawyers here at Meyer Wilson by visiting us at investorclaims.com.
Wonderful. Okay, investorclaims.com. This was wonderful, David. Do you have any questions for us?
I don't. I've enjoyed listening to some of your prior podcasts. I was doing some research, and it was a lot of fun. Great work you guys are doing.
Oh,
thank you. That's awesome.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being here with us, and we're very happy that you joined us and educated our listeners. And that was great. Thank you, David.
My pleasure. It's great being here. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.